You can spend weeks rehearsing in a mirror to perfect the exact words for a presentation. But while you deliver your version of the truth, your physical form is executing a completely different script. Every day, we respond to thousands of nonverbal cues. Posture, eye gaze, and vocal inflection provide a constant stream of data that often overrides the actual information being spoken. This chart visualizes a famous communication model developed by UCLA professor Albert Mehrabian. It suggests that 55% of our emotional impact comes from body language, 38% from tone of voice, and only 7% from our actual words. However, this rule is specific. It primarily applies to in-person interactions where a speaker's verbal message contradicts the emotions they are projecting through their tone and posture. Despite our belief in conscious control, these physical actions are tied to ancient survival mechanics. When our words and our bodies disagree, the physical signal is almost always the more reliable indicator of what we are truly feeling. These machines represent our earliest attempts to measure the physiological signals we cannot consciously silence. They track the autonomic responses managed by the limbic system, the part of the brain that reacts to the world before we can think. This neural network serves as a 24-hour survival engine. It is constantly scanning for threats and reacting to psychological pressure in real time. When this engine detects a stimulus, the resulting biological signals bypass our internal filters and leak out through our physiology, starting at the feet and working up to the face. Because these reactions are hardwired for survival, the conscious mind struggles to suppress them. Even when we try to project an air of calm, the body continues to broadcast our internal state through these persistent, involuntary leaks. FBI counterintelligence expert Joe Navarro uses a specific framework to read these signals. Instead of searching for complex motives, he observes a simple binary, comfort versus discomfort. This binary often contradicts common assumptions. For example, many people believe that crossing your arms or legs is a universal sign of defensiveness or blocking. In reality, crossing your arms is a pacifying behavior. It is a way to self-soothe by applying pressure that mimics a comforting hug, helping to lower the body's stress response. You see this constantly in places like a movie theater. When the lights dim and the room cools, people naturally cross their arms to comfort themselves while they remain fully engaged with the screen. The physics of crossed legs follow a similar logic. Crossing one leg over the other puts the body physically off balance. The limbic system's primary job is to keep you ready for action. It would not permit an unstable, off-balance posture if it perceived a genuine threat. The moment discomfort enters the room, the legs uncross and the feet plant firmly to prepare for movement. Postures that were once labeled as closed are frequently the most reliable indicators of psychological safety and environmental comfort. When a person attempts to fabricate a lie, the brain faces a heavy cognitive load. This mental strain triggers an involuntary surge of adrenaline into the bloodstream. This adrenaline dilates the blood vessels in the face and neck. This can cause a subtle tingling or itching sensation in the nerves, leading the person to unconsciously touch their nose or rub their jaw. We have often been told that liars cannot maintain eye contact while speaking. However, practiced liars are aware of this myth. To compensate, they often maintain a natural, unblinking, and intense eye contact to simulate honesty. As the stress of the lie continues, other tells emerge. The vocal pitch may spike. A dry throat causes excessive swallowing, and the person may place physical barriers, like a bag or a coffee cup, between themselves and their listener. While the mind constructs a story, the body's physiological rebellion makes the deceit difficult to sustain. These involuntary responses prove that our bodies are not designed for long-term deception. While the biological signs of stress are consistent, we must apply a cultural lens to specific gestures. Primary emotions like fear are universal, but how we express them through movement is learned. Cultural norms dictate everything from spatial distancing to business etiquette. A firm handshake in one country might be replaced by air kissing or a bow in another, and misinterpreting these gestures can lead to unintended conflict. To navigate this, experts use validation. This means testing an observed behavior against the person's baseline and the specific cultural context to ensure the interpretation is accurate. Nonverbal intelligence requires this balance.
observing the biological reaction, but interpreting it through the lens of the person's culture and environment. Understanding these cues allows you to read others, but you can also use this science to influence your own internal state. This is the framework of embodied cognition. It suggests that the relationship between the mind and body is a two-way street. Your thoughts shape your posture, but your posture also shapes your thoughts. When you slump and round your shoulders, your body sends feedback to the brain that reinforces feelings of defeat. Research shows this position can lower self-esteem and even trigger the recall of negative memories. Shifting into an upright, open posture sends a different signal. Standing tall with an open chest is interpreted by the brain as a sign of safety, which can actively reduce stress markers like cortisol and boost your subjective confidence. Because the mind and body are inseparable, you can use physical adjustments as a tool to manage difficult moments, whether you are preparing for an interview or a high-stakes conversation. By treating your body as an active steering wheel rather than just a passive mirror, you can influence your internal chemistry and change how you are perceived. Aligning your posture with your goals allows you to navigate the world with genuine self-belief. Subscribe for more insights into the science of nonverbal intelligence.